Don't wait till the battle's over. Don't wait till the struggle ends. Shout out, shout out, right now. Shout out, shout out. Don't wait till you make it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Phillip Show. If you don't have your coffee, go ahead and grab it. If you're drinking tea, I won't judge you, but this is coffee. Oh yes. One of the things that I want to talk about today, and I'm so excited that we're here, is leaders. We hear a lot of things, even on social media, about people positioning themselves to be leaders, to be influencers, to give voice to maybe some questions or maybe some concerns that you have in your own life. It could be professional, it could be personal, but for some reason, everybody is an expert in something. But how do people get there? And what does that mean? Today, we have a leader on the show that I'm so excited to talk to and kind of pick their brain, because leaders are grown from something. We're birthed from some sort of experience. We move because there's something that compels us to either try, to either give back, or to either encourage other people to be more than they can be based on the experiences and the expertise that that we have. So today, founder of Bradley Alliance Group, an exceptional leader, trainer, and professional, is here. Please welcome Yasin Bradley. Yasin, hey.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I mean, I'm sweating a little bit, so Where are you right now?
I'm in Atlanta and it's 81 degrees. So yes, it's hot.
I don't think it's 81. Look, I don't think it's 81 here, but I'm sweating like it might be. So I opened up the show talking about, leadership and, being an influence and all of those things. You have an entire agency, but before we get there, and before we talk about you being such a great leader, where did you come from? Are you from Atlanta? What was your journey to becoming a business person?
So I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey. I left a little over a decade ago, so actually in like 2012, relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, which for me was kind of slow. Freshly out of a divorce, still very, very young, millennial stage. And I felt like it was great if you were raising a family or worked in a particular industry. And the opportunity to relocate to Atlanta really just came out of nowhere. I took a step of faith, applied to a gig back then, interviewed on a Friday. By Monday, it was, hey, we want you. When can you relocate? And we want to help you. So I took that as a sign. I pray about everything. Didn't pray about that, no. It was kind of like just take a leap of faith and do it. And since arriving, it's kind of like life has taken off and flourished.
Have you always been a person of faith, even growing up? How did you know that, hey, faith is the leap that I'm about to take to go here? Why faith?
Yeah, well, I grew up in church. So my grandmother, siblings, we all kind of grew up in church. I was active in ministry, served as a youth pastor many, many years ago. So faith has always been a part of me. I do nothing without it. I do nothing without praying. Having a relationship with God is crucial in my life, and my belief of why I am where I am and had the success that I had. And I haven't gone crazy despite all that, the obstacles that life has thrown my way.
Yeah, I haven't gone crazy. I felt that one. I'm like, yeah. So you had the faith to believe that the move that you're making to Atlanta was, the one for you. Now you're the celebrated leader who has such an impact in human resources and helping to shape the trajectory of businesses, of opportunities for employees. Why is shaping people's perspective when it comes to how to perform so important to you?
Being in HR for me was an act of service. It's all I've ever done my entire professional career. Started off doing payroll, not a numbers person, so absolutely hated it. So I knew that wouldn't be a part of my HR portfolio per se. But then really being just a bona fide generalist to be able to touch all areas of HR is really where I thrive. And I originally started going to school for psychology and thought that I wanted to be a psychiatrist, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And so I found out you need to go to med school to write some prescriptions. And I'm like, nobody has time for that. I don't even have the patience, the time, the energy to be able to go through all of those years. So finished my bachelor's with my psychology degree and then pursued my master's in HR with the specification and senior leadership development. So I realized as I continued my HR career, that psych degree comes in place and handy many, many times in dealing with just people. A lot of times in HR, you are the coach, you are the mentor, you are the developer, you're the career paver, you're the mitigator, you're the risk taker, you're the mom, you're the dad, you're the sister, you're the brother, you're the listening ear. So it really helped me to really balance out my sense of purpose. I knew I just wanted to help people, but it helped me identify in what capacity without losing my hunger for thriving in business.
You mentioned something that I think is so pivotal, and I'm going to come back to your personal story, but I want to dive in a little bit to get some expertise nuggets from you. You know, when people think about business and people think about organizations, and I think about your job and what you just said, you know, it can be very emotional. When you use psychology, I think in terms of layman, you know, it can be very emotional because people come in with their own situations that are happening outside of the work environment. And then we have to somehow make this a conducive like organization. Like, how do you go in when somebody asks you to come and say, give a conference or, you know, whatever, what is the formula for you to kind of connect with people to say, it's okay to have a personal life, but this is how we transition some of those obstacles or opportunities to be able to still be successful in your work environment?
Yeah, so the core of my brand is building people-focused business solutions. And what I mean by that is even as small business owners, entrepreneurs, it is really critical that you lay a foundation of the type of culture you want to have. And that culture should be reflected not just in your speech, not just in your writings of the organization in which you're publishing, but it should be reflected in your policies and your business practices. So me being a people-focused leader, most organizations, when they cross a certain tier, it's the people get lost. The people become a number. The requirements, the laws, the bylaws become the priority, and then that ultimately damages the culture that you want to produce. I always have a saying that if you take care of your people will take care of your clients will secure your ROI, which means your people are your greatest investment, but that's easy to preach and hard to practice. So many organizations, you know, when they become that Fortune 500, 100, or they're on the scale to path that way, you forget that. And it's critical to me to make sure that small businesses have that foundation and have that strategy in place and they don't lose it. Throughout my career, I've been a part of organizations where I was not the good fit. And I was not the good fit because of my professionalism and what I knew about my craft and the ways that I was an expert. I was not a good fit for the culture or the decisions that were being made, because I'm always going to err on the side of being ethical. I'm always going to err on the side of mitigating risk, but I'm a strong believer that sitting in the seat of human resources, it is not just your job to mitigate risk to the organization. It is also your job to advocate for the employees. And if you're serving under an executive leadership team or a CEO that really doesn't understand the people principle, that becomes very difficult to do. Because I'm not going to be your yes man. I'm not going to allow us to say we need to prepare for our next year's revenue and lay off 150 people when we haven't canceled this $1 million leadership conference that you have in place at the end of the year, where we're not really teaching anything. We're showing up somewhere for cocktails and conversation.
It was the air quotes for me. I got it.
Yes. There are many ways that budgets can be cut and capital can be saved without affecting the lives that are on the front line and those that are actually running in the business to make you profitable.
Why are you so Why are you so good? What about you is like, why are you different? You know, because I hear what you're saying, and I agree with everything that you're saying. But you know, in a world of competition, in a world of human resources, in a world of a lot of businesses, and I want to get to yours in a minute, but there's something about you that is different, because otherwise you wouldn't be escalated to be to the platform that you are. Why do you think that people view you as somebody who can make a positive change and who is different?
I think one of my greatest value is my integrity.
Mm.
And that can be a broad word, right? It has its own definition, but it registers to me in many different places as like the blood that flows through my veins. Integrity for me is just not being integral in business practices and decisions, but integrity holds value that you're going to know that you're going to have a trusted partner. I don't come to the table with the intent, how much should I bill? What is the revenue in it for me? I come in it to really understand how can we be a partner and a part of the family that you have in order to get you on the right track for sustainable growth and a culture that you should actually be proud of. So for me, an avatar or a client is not necessarily how much money you have and how much the opportunity is, but what is your headspace? What is your vision? What is your mission? Not just for your business, but for yourself. Because under every successful organization, it can be led by a successful leader and be profitable. But what's the core and the intent, and who's the human behind this business? Because ultimately we find out as professionals, despite how good you are through your business practices, through your communication, if you're not healed and function as a person, we're doing business while we're bleeding on our clientele.
Wow.
And that is going to come out in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through a decision, whether it's through a practice, whether it's through the advice or guidance that you're providing someone. And it's time to stop the bleeding in the world of SMBs.
That's good. And that takes a lot of introspection, and it takes a lot of honesty and authenticity for people to get to that point to say, hey, you know, I might need to work on this on the side because it's affecting my leadership. You have, you're the founder of the Bradley Alliance Group in Atlanta, Georgia. Tell me about that. What is that? And what do you do? What y'all do down there?
Yeah, so Bradley Alliance Group is really meant, in the vision, we're still growing, is to really be that one-stop shop for small to medium-sized enterprises. Despite how small, despite how big, I'm interested in not where you are, but what is your vision for the organization? So if you want to be if you're a small business and your goal is to ultimately grow to a future 500 or 100 organization, then that's the goal. If your goal is to grow this as a leader to the point that you can sell it off and move on with life, so it's just an investment for you, then we got to have some conversations to understand how is that going to fit into play where you can still be fair and practical and profitable all at the same time. So many small businesses can afford to go and sit at the table of your McKinsey & Co., your Bain & companies. We're not their avatar. We're not their client. On a lens and a scale that we're functioning and we're operating based off of my market research, there isn't any organization for small businesses that is a one-stop shop. So that is our goal, to be the one-stop shop in all of the business verticals that we provide. HR, of course, being the driver, because that's my sweet spot and where I come from within my professional career. But we also support in the realms of operations, technical implementation, recruiting and staffing, finance management to small business owners. I can't tell you how many that I've spoke to that don't really understand the power or the setup of a P&L and what should all be incorporated into that. And again, finally, executive team, advisory, coaching, and leadership development. Again, because your people have to be led by people that are people focused. And there's a huge benefit of not having, you know, the cliche term of green leaders. Anybody that's green can be developed when they're right in the right culture and they have the right structure and practice in place. So if we have a small business owner that comes to us, each one of those verticals touch every part of your organization. Many people don't realize they need HR until they realize that they need HR. And that's when something happens. There's a claim that comes into place. It only takes one employee in some instances, only one contractor to file a complaint or have an issue, and that jeopardizes your entire organization, that a simple handbook or policy could have prevented thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, or even millions in litigation expenses to your organization. Operations touches everything. Technology is crucial in the world that we're in, touches everything. Your finance is your bag, so that matters. Pause on the play, Bradley Alliance Group, getting your bag. And then your development of your people and you as a leader or in that advisory capacity. Sometimes we need a different opinion. We need, in our head, it's the strategy is there, the vision is there, but the components in order to make that happen, we sometimes lack, or the roadmap that we set, we need an external voice to give us other options, or, you know, to be able to give that strong feedback on why this may not be the direction to go.
And I love that, because it's like you're like the secret player on the team that helps you, that helps people understand what their blind spots may be for success. You know, because I think a lot of times people are on the road to success, but they don't know where their blind spots are because we only know what we know. You know, so what you're saying is like, hey, there's some things that you may not be aware of in a small business, in a larger business. While I'm here, what size business or what size small business would you recommend as reaching out to you? Is something too small? Is something too large? When do we need you?
If you're at the point where you are 50 employees or less, or that could be a mix of FTEs and contractors, then I am your guy, and in all of those business verticals. When you begin to get above 50 employees, it really depends on the leader. If they're in a place where they feel like it's more beneficial to outsource their HR services, or in any other services within any of these other business areas, rather than keeping it in-house, and how cost effective it will be. And the reason that I put emphasis on that is because typically when you're at the size of a 50+ organization, you should have a strong P&L, you should have capital, you should have some type of HR practice in place. But many times I find that your executive admin is your payroll analyst, your HR person, your accountant is also your bookkeeper. And people don't realize how those are two different things. Your bookkeeper is not necessarily your accountant, neither should they be functioning as your CFO. There are different tiers and qualifications and skill sets that are needed for each of those roles. So for some organizations that reach that level, we may come in on just a project basis. Ideally, we would want to have that ongoing partnership to kind of get you above that 100+ threshold, so that you can start bringing it in slowly in-house and really saving on that capital. So one of our main services that is quite uncommon is that if we have a business or small business that really can't afford the overall life cycle of an employee from an employment perspective, then we can function in that staffing space. Whereas if you need an HR manager, but you want to pay them $60,000 a year, depending on where you're located, what you're actually paying, and the culture of your organization and the structure will determine the type of talent that you have. So if you're budgeting for 60, you actually need to budget for 75 when we start adding on the cost of benefits, equipment in this virtual world, employer taxes. And if you don't have the budget to do that, then we can literally hire in through BAG and make that representative client facing to you, to have that client facing consultant to serve in a capacity specifically within your organization until you're ready to bring them on board. That does one and two things for you. One, it ensures that you don't lose the institutional knowledge. So we've been on board with you, we're working with you. We're literally can train the individual side by side, prepare them to be embedded into your organization and hired on. And secondly, it does reduce your costs. Once you get over that threshold, you know, I say we go up to the maximum of being 500, but anything above that is usually project-based and specific, or we're coming in alignment and an agreement to really enhance the structure, policies, and things that you already have in place.
So in listening to you, you're very proficient, you know, and, you know, like clearly you're a professional. You know, have you always been this confident in what you're doing and how you're stepping out and how you're speaking?
No, it's very quite new and quite fresh within the last few years. And the reason why, piggyback into my previous comment, who are you as a person, as a leader? I really lacked that confidence. I had the greatest confidence professionally within myself, my capabilities, studying my craft, knowing what it means, but being able to show up and put myself out there was always a hindrance because of internal issues that I had of not being the most social butterfly, being okay to be in the room and be that wallflower until somebody speaks to me, not having the courage to do things like this and be on platforms and speak out loud and openly. And I had to go through this phase in life where I needed to find my voice as a person and within before I can showcase my voice from a professional lens.
When it comes to imposter syndrome, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something that you've had to navigate?
Absolutely. And to be quite honest, it's something that I'm still navigating. So I believe that if someone says they've conquered imposter syndrome, I have questions, and you need to become my mentor, because every round that you go, and this is where my churchiness comes out, right? Every round that you go, we're going higher and higher, new levels, new devils, new struggles, new burdens. With the success comes new stories. So you have to be prepared for every room that you're getting ready to go into. And as these greater doors begin to open, you can't always nail where you're going. Who's there, who you're presenting before, who doesn't really believe in you, but are really to listen, to allow you the opportunity to prove your point, how to really take on and seek out partnerships. And in all of that, that requires you to show up a different way. And you can't show up with confidence in every category. There are going to be some things that you have to actually work towards. So with each new level becomes a new level of growth. And if you're not growing and you are showing up the same every single time, I mean, it's going to speak for itself, because those yays will become no's. That judgment becomes heavier. Those opportunities begin to reduce, because we always have to be able to adjust to the environment that we're going in. You can still be bold, you still be confident, you still know your stuff, but certain rooms are going to have different requirements.
When you're talking about this, and I appreciate you saying this, because I'm liking it to your journey, and I understand that. Where do you find, because you're so public and because you're so people focused and because you're so in front of people, how do you muster up, if you will, the courage while you're in this process of trying to believe and trying to okay, I'm battling this, but now I have to perform here. How do you get yourself ready to step into spaces that you may not 100% be confident that you can tackle, but I'm gonna do it anyway, but I don't know. Where's that courage come from?
Again, to where we started, much faith and prayer, and having a network. So my prayers begin to change of, God, send me those that are ordained for my life and are positioned for my success. And that's where, partnerships and being able to have conversations with people, he'll send the help. When help comes and knocks at the door, let help help. So I'm very protective of not just my environments, but just my relationships. And that has been a blessing and a curse over the years, because I've had this wall up where I blocked out the right people. And I often say that many leaders are walking around as wounded warriors in a full combat suit that you no longer need. So we have on the breastplate, we have on the helmet, we have our sword or whatever weapon that you're using of choice. We got the combat boots, and life's difficulties and struggles and ups and downs, even in business, the pitfalls, the downfalls, the no return on your investment. You've taken care of people and put out for people, especially if you're a people leader and feel like nothing has returned. So now we have not just this wall, but we have this gear that is literally holding us down because we're trying to protect ourselves from past experiences. And we have to come to a place where we have to be able to let our past experiences go. We have to come to a place where we can forgive ourselves for not showing up as our best self in the time that we thought that we should, and it could have forfeited us an opportunity because we weren't ready to actually be in that room. So we have to begin to take off that combat in order to be able to go through success. And I was sitting in therapy one day, and she said, you have this wall up, and it's a brick wall. And each one of those bricks has reflected something in your life, whether it was pain, whether it was disappointment. And now we need to brick by brick take that wall down and replace it with an iron fence. And when I say iron fence, you know, it's the fence that just has the poles where you can still reach through it. You can still see through it, but you have access to be able to open the gate. So now that becomes your guardrail and your barrier to say, I see you. I'm not sure if I can give you access yet, but I see you. So now I can watch you. And it's okay if you decide to open the gate, and that still comes with pain. That still comes with disappointment. That still comes with the forfeit or the missing of one of the greatest deals within your business, but you were able to see it. You had access. We can't see through brick. We can't see through a stone wall. So if you're constantly in defense mode and then combat mode, you're shielding yourself from the hurt and the protection, but you're also neglecting yourself from the opportunity, from partnerships, from visibility to actually see what's coming.
For some leaders who are listening, because I'm sure that there are, or they will be watching now, you know, and I know that you deal with executive leadership. How important is it for executive leaders to take care of the back office so they're available to take care of their employees?
I always say your back office is critical. So as a consumer myself in many areas, many different services, whether professional, product, etc., it frustrates me the most when you may have an amazing product or an amazing service, but your customer journey is horrible. Your customer service is horrible. You're not showing up and delivering on the promise. And a lot of times in today's world, especially in coaching and consultants and being leaders, we move away from having a guarantee because of the legal compliance. Because if you have a guarantee, you have to deliver on that guarantee. And they've oftentimes shifted into a scope of work and what we're going to deliver and what we're going to do. However, there's no integrity there. Because I don't want to subscribe to your service and be a number. Where's the personality? Where's the intimacy? Where's the ethics of who you are? Not just your business, but who you are. So if the customer journey is whacked up, messed up, then that's because the back office isn't together. What is my experience is going to be? So your investment should be in that back office. From a client-facing perspective, your finances, your technology, your operations, like what does it look like from the moment that you as a leader turns the key to business to start in the morning to where you close up at the end of the day? Because you're the leader.
I would imagine that if somebody is in internal turmoil, if they're not doing the internal work, they're not going to be able to identify, you know, what's happening. They're not going to be able to identify what's wrong because it starts before I turn the key. I ain't right. And everything that I do after I turn this key and walk in this room is going to be because of what's going on. And I really haven't addressed my, you know, the inside of all of this, you know, like my personal back office. I really haven't addressed that. So now I'm projecting onto my staff. Now I am doing, you know, far too much. If I were to take some time to do some personal inventory and to do some personal growth, perhaps, you know, my interaction with them would be a lot different and success would not be such a fleeting, you know, idea.
Absolutely. And that is evident. But what seems to happen in society today is all of that investment is in the front office, which is that business or that individual puts on a great face. And sometimes you don't realize the turmoil until you're under contract.
Until you have to listen. What I heard you say was you don't realize it until you're forced to.
Until you're forced to.
Until you're forced to. Like, I don't have to be accountable until you tell me. You know what I mean? Like, until like I'm absolutely forced to. Huh. So I'm so glad that you are here. And I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to speak for Bradley Alliance Group. How do we find more about you?
Sure, you can visit our website at www.b-as-in-boy-alliancegroup.com. We have something on there for business owners that's called the CSE Customer Success Evaluation. It's very long. So if you have the time to complete that, then awesome. It really helps us to understand who you are, what you do, and where you are in your business. If not, just go to the contact us form, set up a consultation. We can have a conversation. There's no charge for that. And just talk to us, reach out to us. You can reach me the same way, whether it's through any speaking events, engagements, pick a brain, and that's the best way to reach us.
Well, I'm so glad there's so much to unpack here. And for the people that are listening, if they even have small businesses, if they're just a person, the journey that you're talking about is a universal journey for all of us, and it's like, what are you doing with the time that you have with yourself? Because your self-investment is going to be how you're able to pay it forward, how you're going to govern other people, how you're going to see other people, and how you're going to manage the things that are going to come into, and how you're going to be able to step into the room when the opportunity arises, Absolutely. Yeah, that was a huge takeaway for me. I mean, you ain't talking specifically to me, but I took that one. I did. So thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing everything that's going on with you. What a tremendous story. And thank you for having the courage to share it today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So that was Yasin Bradley with Bradley Alliance Group. Listen, there were so many things that you should have taken notes on. If you have not, just wind it back, take some notes. It's not just for executive level people. This is something that we all need to know. Who are you? Are you healed? If you're not healed, who are you bleeding on? And are you willing to take the steps to say, hey, I want to be better because there's so much greatness in front of me and I want to be prepared when the opportunities arise. So go to phillipo'rourke.com or thephillipshow.com for more. You can find everything that you need about the Bradley Alliance Group and Yasin there. And I wish you all the best. Listen, these aren't just stories. These are help tools for you and for your life. Take advantage of them. And I know that you will. As usual, you are the best you in the world. And I will see you next time on The Phillip Show.
Don't wait.